Holding on one day at a time. There are so many decisions that we will have to make in our lives. I pray to always turn to God first and seek His counsel. We have to face some of the darkest, hardest times, and without having faith in God, it would be so daunting and impossible to get through it. Jesus offers us to take His yoke upon us and come to Him, all who labor and are heavy laden. I just did not quite understand what it truly meant to come to Him. As I began to seek Him for help and answers to my troubles and concerns, my heart and understanding were enlightened. The yoke in our lives could be sickness, hurt, miscarriage, divorce, disappointments, brokenhearted, loneliness, despair, temptation, etc. When we read the scriptures, Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30, we tend to run past it without seeing our yoke and selves. Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Every believer and follower of Christ must make a mental note of their yoke. We have to understand that this is God's grace for rest to those who are worrisome, troubled, exhausted, running in circles, lost, double-minded, living in turmoil, etc. We certainly cannot find rest in the world because Satan is the prince of this air and is busy fighting the saints day and night to wear us out. According to Moses' time, by the law keepers, the Pharisees were in charge of the law. When the Israelites were under the 613 Mosaic laws, they had to obey each of them at all times in order not to be found guilty. Whenever someone broke one of the 613 laws, they received punishment because they had sinned according to the law. There were many animal sacrifices and deaths because no one could follow every commandment in the law. Today, we are no longer under the law because Jesus fulfilled the law when He died for our sins and was the atonement. The people were in bondage to the law and couldn't experience any rest and were enslaved to sin. But Jesus died to fulfill the law by taking our punishment for sin and helping us carry our yoke. Now we can find rest in Him by allowing the Word to cut and prick our hearts when we fall short of His righteousness and mercy. The yoke is a wooden beam placed over the necks of two oxen as they pull a cart or farming equipment. The yoke is evenly placed on the animal's neck to balance the load. Therefore, both sides are working together to get the task at hand done. That is what Jesus is doing in our lives. When we give Him our lives, burdens and fears and troubles, in exchange, He gives us rest and peace by blocking many of the attacks and hardships that rise against us. Thank you for listening.